Hey everyone, welcome back. I haven't made a video in a long time. I kind of have a lot going on. I'm in grad school, I'm doing an internship, I have different jobs, an Etsy store, so please bear with me. I really appreciate all of you who have subscribed and commented. I really didn't know what to expect when I started making these videos, but I've really enjoyed just kind of reminiscing on my Disney experience and talking to you guys about it. So please feel free to ask any more questions that you have, and I will try to get back to those as soon as I can. So today I just wanted to answer some of the questions that I've gotten so far, make a quick little video, post something since I haven't in a while. So hopefully you enjoy it. So the first question is, when coming into work, did you need a uniform or just regular ordinary clothes? So going into shifts, my where I usually worked, my home base was Magic Kingdom. So I would show up to work, park, get on the bus, and then I would just be wearing my regular clothes, usually something that's kind of easy to change in and out of, like leggings, sweatshirt, whatever. And then you pull your costume and then you wear basics. So I think I've talked about them a little bit before, probably in my for character videos, but you pull your costume and then you get these clothes that are basics, and they're basically like a t-shirt and sweatpants or shorts, and they are literally just plain clothes with a barcode on them. So I would put on my Ariel shells or shell bra, and then wear a t-shirt over that, and then go put my wig and makeup on in the cosmetology room. And the reason you want to wear a t-shirt over your shell costume, and you would wear a little bandana type thing over your wig, because sometimes I guess guests can get backstage and you don't want to see Ariel walking around in sweatpants and a shell bra. It just isn't a good look. So that's why they would have you cover up, and just in case. And it was funny because I would walk along this path to get to the grotto, and Gaston was also back there. So sometimes in passing, I'd see other character performers, like Gaston coming by, or who else is over there. That might be it. I don't remember, but yeah. So the next question is, do you have any funny stories like wardrobe malfunctions with fur characters or visibility problems? I think I've gone over this in one other video. I never remember. Sorry, it's been a while. But I did have kind of a costume malfunction as either Chip or Dale, where my neck, I guess, is too long. And so I was pulled backstage from, I think it was probably my supervisor or my character attendant pulled me back and said I can kind of see your neck. So we kind of had to take a break and then go back, and then they told me to do the rest of my set with my head down. So I was kind of like this, which was not comfortable and just kind of weird to be doing. But I don't know, I guess I have a long neck. So I was always kind of cautious of that. And then the worst thing in fur, actually fur and face, is when you are sick, because especially in fur, you can't wipe your nose if you have to cough. They're not supposed to be able to hear you, so you really had to hold that in. If your nose was running, you can't wipe it. Your eyes are watering. On really, really hot days, it was horrendous because you'd get so sweaty and the sweat would just be dripping into your eyes and burning, and there's nothing you can do about it. You just have this huge helmet on, and it's just you can barely see. You're blinking through every guest, just hoping to get through it. I think that's it. As for face character costume malfunctions, I don't have any that I can recall. I'm sure there probably were some. I really don't remember. I would have little girls like kind of like feel the fin and say, I can tell your legs are in there, or I know you're just wearing a costume. They would always try to like figure that out. To which my response would usually be like, well, those are my bones. Like you have bones in your leg or something like that. And then they would also be sometimes like really infatuated with the shell bra because it had like little rhinestones on it, or they were just like curious and like wanting to know, but you kind of have to like take their hands and distract them with something else. So you don't get pictures of them like reaching for the bra, but it was fine. Like they're just curious and trying to figure it all out, which I get. And it was always kind of cute. As for having to break character, there weren't a lot of scenarios where you would have to break character. That's like a really big no-no. So you would try to avoid that at all costs and do anything in your power to not have to break character. The only 2 times I can think of right now are, there was a little girl who had a medical emergency at Akershus in Epcot, and it was rough. Like, so we did our full set, and then we had gone into the back room, and that's kind of when you can like take a break and take your costume off, or like do whatever, just have a few minutes to yourself until the next group of people are seated. And I guess this little girl was in the waiting section, but she hadn't met all the characters yet. They hadn't been seated and hadn't eaten or anything. So she had like a medical emergency, and the ambulance had to come like backstage, and she had to go on a stretcher and be taken away, but her favorite character was Ariel. So my supervisor came back and was like, oh, this little girl, like, is there any way you could just do an interaction with her? So I went out and saw her and just talked to her for a little while, and she was like telling me about her friend, and like it was a nice, really like normal moment. And I think what was like a really chaotic experience for her, like she was being taken away from Disney World because of this like medical thing happening for her, and it was just I felt really bad. So I was glad she was able to get that like character interaction. I hope it made her day better. And then one other interaction I had where I kind of broke character, I don't know if I've talked about this before. It was just odd. I had someone, an older woman, not older, she was probably like, I don't know, in her 30s or something, come in, and she was by herself, and she came in claiming that she was hurt. And so she was kind of like going on and on about how she was hurt and she needed help. And my attendant like went to go get help for her, and we cut the line so no one could come in. And she was just in the grotto with myself and my PhotoPass photographer. And I was like asking if she was okay. And then she asked if she could come sit with me. So I was like, of course. And she's sitting with me, and I'm just kind of like trying to like make the situation like comfortable and normal, but also she's like really hurt, and apparently, and she just like sent my character attendant to like go get help for her. And we talked for like 5 minutes, and you're supposed to, of course, like keep the line going. You have like a certain amount of time, and it is nowhere near 5 minutes. So we talked for a while, just waiting for like help to get there. And then when my when my attendant came back with like help for her, she was like, oh, I'm okay. Ariel made it better. And then she was off on her day. And it wasn't that I broke character. It was more like I was more concerned, like as a human, I was more concerned, like, is she okay? Like, what should we be doing? Do I need to break character to help this person? Like, are we gonna have to walk her out? Obviously I would have to like take my fin off. That didn't happen, obviously. It was just very bizarre. I was like, okay, so is she okay? Maybe she just like needed a minute. I don't know what it was. But I was asking a lot, like if she was okay, and it felt for me in the moment that I was gonna break character because I was so concerned, but I didn't end up having to do that. So I don't know if that counts or not, but there you go. So the next question is, You mentioned in the last video about horrible sweating experiences. How are face and fur characters not just sweating like mad when we meet them? So they most likely are, but this is also why sets are usually only about like 20 minutes at a time, especially if you're outside or in like a really hot area. The costumes, fur character costumes are really thick, and then face character makeup, like you can touch up your makeup in between sets, so you're really only wearing it for like 20 minutes at a time without like touch-ups. You could have longer set times, like in the grotto I could be out there longer than 20 minutes, but that's like a cool area, like it's not, you're not going to be sweating or anything like that really. Other than that, like of course you want to be mindful of the makeup you use, and you kind of have to experiment to see like what works well with your skin and the weather conditions and things like that. But that's most likely why characters weren't always sweating when you saw them. Also, I will say that even if you're sweating and like there's sweat dripping into your eyes and you're dying, you kind of just like learn to get used to it. You do so much training and so much preparing that you kind of just like fall into performing mode, and you don't really think so much about like, oh, this is really uncomfortable. Like, yes, it is uncomfortable. This is your job. This is the reality. Like, it is what it is. My next question is, are there any characters you wish you could have played, or was Ariel the character you chose to play? So I didn't choose which character I was going to play. I had always wanted to work at Disney, and I always told myself, like, if I have the opportunity to be any character, I don't care who it is. Like, I will take anyone. When I was doing my audition, they chose Ariel for whatever reason. To this day, I don't feel like Ariel is like the character I'm best suited as, but they did, and like they're the professional, so whatever. If I could have chosen, I love Alice. Alice is my favorite, and Tinkerbell. Those are like my two favorites. But my height was measured as 5'3.5", which face characters technically start at 5'4". So I was like on the shorter side, but Alice and Tink, I think their height stops at like 5 feet tall. Because they want them to be like smaller. Obviously, Tinkerbell's a fairy and Alice is supposed to be a child. Sorry, phone died, but I'm back. So my next question was, did you have to deal with inappropriate guests? I think every face character and fur character probably has stories about inappropriate guests. It did happen. There are just always gonna be those people, I think, even if you're not a performer, but especially when you're in something like a seashell bra and a mermaid fin. Just comments like, I don't know, just like kind of like, you can probably expect what kind of comments people would say. But also I noticed a lot of like women made comments that made me uncomfortable. Like they would talk about like their appearance and be like, oh, I'm all sweaty and now I have to sit next to this naked girl, or like this girl in a bra, and like, oh, look how skinny, and like it was just like uncomfortable. Things that like as the performer you don't know how to respond to that, and it was kind of uncomfortable, but you can always kind of like switch the situation, and you learn to like detract and like literally go into a new script. So it was nothing usually that you couldn't like handle, thankfully. Also, if men, like you didn't want anyone to put their hands behind your back. So usually if like men came in and wanted a picture, you would say something like, oh, may I take your arm, sailor? And you would kind of like hold on to them. So that was like your excuse to not have their hands all up on you, and you're kind of like controlling the interaction. So of course Disney had like precautions for those types of situations. Was I ever asked to do anything I wasn't comfortable with? Yes, and there are just certain things that you're not supposed to do as a character. So like advertising certain like logos, or anything inappropriate. Obviously you're a children's character. And then I had like some teenagers who would ask me like to dab and things like that. That was like big at the time, where I just like wasn't allowed to do that. So I'd be like, okay, is that something you do in your land? Like you do that and I'm gonna do like what I do, and I'd make like a fish face or something like that. So like there were occasional things, but I mean, nothing too much. I would always get really nervous when people asked me, like I had people ask, someone wanted me to ask like their girlfriend to prom for them, or someone wanted me to give wedding advice, and like those are things you prepare your stories like ahead of time, but the first time those questions happened to me, I was like, oh my God, I don't have anything prepared for this. So I kind of just had to like improv, and like it was fine, but I would get like kind of nervous, like, oh, I'm not prepared for this, what do I say? Or what would Ariel say? So usually once you're in that mindset, like, oh, okay, I'm not really me, I'm not giving like necessarily my advice, I'm gonna give Ariel's advice. So it was easier if you could get into the character's like headspace, and that's why you do so much like training and practicing, because for me, I would give different advice probably versus like what Ariel would give. So for her, I would say something like, oh, always make sure you take long walks on the beach together, or something like that. So as long as you're staying like in that headspace versus, oh, what would I say? That would kind of like help. So those are all the questions I have for right now. I wanted to just make this a quick video. I really appreciate you guys watching and asking questions. Like I've said, please feel free to ask more, and I hope I can get into answering more questions soon. I have 2 more months of grad school, so then I'll have a lot more time on my hands. So I have a whole list of videos I'm planning to make. I have some I've already recorded and just haven't edited or uploaded yet. So thanks for bearing with me and subscribing and watching and commenting. I really, really appreciate it. So yeah, it's been great to share with you guys, and I hope these videos are helpful.